Good afternoon, everyone. Today is February 4. It's a Thursday, and this one's my video lecture for CVV, Chameleon Values and Virtues, which is an institutionally mandated course in your first year. Now, this video lecture is applicable for both Block A and Block B. So, this is just a continuation of what we had yesterday, which is we still have to study or to know about the different theories propounded by different philosophers and psychologists with respect to a learning theory which we call um, cognitivism. No? So we are still in cognitivism. By way of a review, as what I have told you yesterday, this is actually in response to a former learning theory which we call behaviorism. No? Behaviorism, by way of a review again, when we talk of behaviorism as simply as this, no? For behaviorism, what we had is just SR. So the individual reacts by virtue of the stimulus, no? This will be his response based on the stimulus that he received from the environment. But in the case of this one is for behaviorism, no? For behaviorism. And of course, you should also be guided for behaviorism about the classical conditioning, and also what we call the operant conditioning. Operant conditioning. And of course, when we talk of conditioning, we are talking of learning. No? And we defined learning yesterday by Shang. No? Philosopher, uh, it's a new definition. And what did we say again? As to learning, we said that learning is uh, a change, not in behavior, a change in behavior, or a change in behavior, or in the capacity to behave in a certain fashion. By in a certain fashion, it's not only a change in behavior, but even the capacity to behave in a certain fashion, brought about or caused by what we call practices or experience. So here, when we talk of behaviorism, uh, what is being said or what is being considered as learning are only those that are observable, observable, uh, observable behavior. No, that is the theory in behaviorism. They do not consider any other. It's only the observable behavior that is being considered for behaviorism. No? So that is the philosophy or concept of behaviorism as opposed to what we call now cognitivism. No? We are still in cognitivism. No? So for cognitivism, of course, we talk about this, the stimulus, then it goes through another process which we call the cognitive processes. No? Cognitive processes. And after that, after this process, then the individual reacts or we get this response. No? When we talk of cognitive processes, these are mental processes, not internal. Mental processes, and I've mentioned to you the different processes yesterday, diba, attention or observing or perceiving, those are the mental processes that goes through here. And of course, when we talk of the mental process or processes, it seems that you have to unlock what we call the black box. No, your mind is the black box. No? This is where, otherwise known as the black box. No, the mind uh, is the black box that we're talking about. And of course, it says here if behaviorism only considers the observable behavior, no, those that are outwardly manifested, because according to behaviorism, they are the ones which we can only measure. But that is not the case of cognitivism, because they said that even the learnings from the mind, no, even those the things like perceiving, remembering, memorizing, all the mental processes will be part and parcel of the learning of an individual. That's why I always tell my college students, no, time and again, I always tell you that you need to study, you need to finish your college degree, because we could see that after finishing a course or a degree, you could find already learnings, and those learnings will definitely not only the learnings of the mind, but also that will be manifested through your behavior. And the behavior that we're talking about would be the physical acts that you do. No? So here we talk about this, but before we had cognitivism as a theory, before this theory was developed, or the cognitive learning theory, which is otherwise known as the IPT, no? The information processing theory, because the information processing will of course be pertaining to what we call the cognitive processes. Okay, you understand? No? Now, there are philosophers or scientists or mathematicians that I have cited being a part or having contributed something in what we call cognitivism. No? Cognitivism. And the first one is a very famous philosopher, Greek philosopher by the name of Plato. Now, by way of a review, he has a famous work which he calls the Republic. No? This is his famous work, the Republic, which also involves his mentor, and his mentor was Socrates. No? This was his mentor. No? But we will not be dealing we will not be dealing at length on this work of Plato. We will just be dealing on his work or contribution on cognitive learning theory. And this has something to do with the theory of forms. This is his theory, no? Theory of forms. Yeah, yung theory niya, the theory of forms. When we when the other term for forms would be ideas, not for you to understand what is he talking about forms. Well, he is simply talking about ideas, no? Ideas, the same. The theory of forms and the theory of ideas, one and the same. So what did he say? That to analyze or evaluate this world, according to Plato, there are two realms. No, the first is the physical realm, and then the other realm. There are two realms. No, the other is the spiritual realm. No, so that is how we view things according to Plato. So what is included? We go first to the spiritual realm. No, the spiritual realm is something that is non-physical, no? It's beyond the physical aspect of a certain thing or a certain object. So this one, what is talking about forms or ideas are actually belonging to this realm, no? Forms or ideas. And when we talk of the spiritual realm, he qualifies it as he said that it's the qualified perfection, or unqualified rather, the unqualified perfection of a certain object. No? Perfect. That's what he said. No? When he talks of the spiritual realm, he's talking about the unqualified perfection of a certain object or a certain matter. No? So, how about the physical realm? Well, he is talking about anything that exists in this world are actually visible things or visible objects. Diba? Yung anything that we see, the chair, the electric fan, the table, etc. Everything that we see in this world are just a representation of what we call forms or ideas. So in short, this one, the physical realm, are just imitations. Imitations of what? Well, imitations of the forms or ideas which are perfect. No? You understand? Imitations of uh, ideas or forms that are in our mind. No? So, kaya nga spiritual because we go beyond the physical aspect of a certain object or a certain entity. No? So, that one, ibig sabihin, for example, no, for example, of course, to your mind, for instance, we are talking of the spiritual realm. You have a concept of a circle, right? You have a concept of a circle, you have a concept of a triangle, you have a concept of a line, right? So those are your concepts that exist in your mind. So what are the forms that exist? Of course, the line, the circle, the triangle. No, those are considered spiritual realm because these are forms or ideas that exist beyond the physical form. The essence of which would, of course, be they are uh, perfect ideas or perfect forms or perfect representations. No, so here in the case of the spiritual realm or the forms or ideas, say, for instance, they are unqualified perfection. They are perfect. Say, for instance, you have the example would be circle, no? Can I erase this now? The theory of ideas or the theory of forms. So, if you have your concept of or your form is about circle. So I make a circle, that is your concept of a circle, or a triangle, for instance, or a line, no? Those are things, they are already visible, non-visible things. So they belong already to what we call the physical realm, no? Physical, because you can already see them. But as to whether this circle is perfect or not, of course, it is not perfect, right? It is very much different from the form or from the idea that is in your mind. Because what is your mind are non-physical, which will correspond to a perfect circle, no? And this one, the form or the idea that you have in your mind will also represent a perfect triangle, similarly with the line. So these are the things that I drew here belong to what we call the physical realm, no? Physical realm, which definitely are not perfect. No, they are not perfect. They are not timeless, not absolute, no? Not unchanging, or they are changing, always changing because different, no? So not, no, the physical, those that I have drawn are not actually perfect, no? The ones that are perfect, the ones that are timeless, the ones that are absolute, the ones that are unchanging are those that are in the spiritual realm. The ones that are in the mind, no? Those are forms or ideas that are timeless, that are absolute, that are unchanging. No, so what I drew there, what I have drawn there, the circle is not perfect, the triangle is not perfect, the line neither is the line perfect. No, because they are just imitations or physical representations of the forms or ideas that are in your mind. Understand? So that is how I briefly explain the theory of forms by Plato. We will be discussing this later on as to its relevance to cognitivism when we have finished all the theories of these famous philosophers and psychologists. Now, the next philosopher or the next contributor to cognitivism is the one by the French philosopher, mathematician, and scientist by the name of René Descartes. No, by René Descartes, not Descartes, no, it's Descartes. That is the next philosopher. And his theory has something to do with the theory of innate ideas. The theory of innate ideas or the theory of innate knowledge. Innate ideas or innate knowledge, the same, no? Now, I think we have to qualify what do we mean by innate. When we say innate, we are referring to one that is inborn, no? That is already there, inborn, no? Given, no? It is already given. Why innate or inborn? No, because there is actually no empirical what's this evidence as to its origin. No, nandoon na inborn, meaning to say that there is no need by which we base everything through experience. It is already given there. And according to this theory of Descartes, there are three innate ideas, at least. No? At least three. The idea of God, no? The idea of God, the idea of mind, or infinite, and then the idea of substance, or body. The idea of substance or body. No? This one idea of being infinite. No? Infinite, you can, through your imagination, you can draw several things out of that. So he said that these are innate ideas. So the individual is born with all these already ideas. No, perhaps it has something to do with consciousness or self-awareness later on. So there is no need that these ideas or these concepts had been brought about by experience or what we say empirical origin or empirical evidence. Understand? No? So these are all given in the individual. What it means is that, of course, the concept of God is already there. That's why he talked about, he's also well known of a famous one, no? A famous line which says, this famous line is, I think, therefore I am. No? I think, therefore I am, by René Descartes. Or the Latin translation of this is cogitu ergo sum. No? That's the Latin translation of I think, therefore I am, which means that you are thinking, you are doubting. So if you are thinking or you are doubting something, you put everything in doubt. Now, say for instance, anything that you see that can be put in doubt, then you are doubting all throughout. Which means that this famous line by Descartes would mean that he's thinking, he puts everything in doubt. So because he puts everything in doubt, he wants to search for the truth, the absolute truth, right? And if he's thinking or if he's doubting, then therefore he exists. No, the fact alone that he is thinking or he is doubting something, it means or it presupposes that he exists. Okay, so we go back to the three innate, no, to the three innate ideas. The first is the idea of God. Well, of course, the reason why he thinks that this is also the primary idea. The primary idea is because of his existence. No, primary idea. He exists because there is God who created him. No, the idea of God. Now, with respect to the idea of mind, the idea of mind, and the other is the idea of body or substance. The idea of substance. Well, he was also instrumental in saying, that's why cognitive, in saying that these two are separate. The mind and the body are distinct and separate. That's why he was able to formulate what we call the Cartesian dualism. No? The Cartesian dualism. So it means that the mind is separate from the substance or the physical, the body. No, in short, what he means by this is the mind and substance would be matter. No, matter, substance or matter. No, so okay, we have this, the idea of God. We have the idea of mind, then the idea of substance. No, now mind, told you, mind over matter. No? So what he wants to emphasize is that before an individual can react on something, well, of course, he has to use his mind. That's why we are very familiar with saying that, of course, before you react or before you act on something, no, you have to think first as to, say, for instance, as to its implications or as to the consequences of your action. Because the reason why the mind was put in the higher order or higher position of the body is because uh, the mind rationalizes, no, meaning it thinks first of the consequences, it thinks first of so many things before it could be manifested, before the action could be manifested through the appropriate behavior. No, so that is the theory of innate ideas or innate knowledge by Rene Descartes. I think we have to stop here. Now I will be discussing, because it's a little bit long, the philosophies or the contributions also of the three other philosophers or three other psychologists. The first is by Jean Piaget, of course, then by Benjamin Bloom, and the third would be by Jerome uh, Brunner. No, so we will take that up next time. For now, remember the two theories propounded by Plato and by Rene Descartes. Okay, thank you and good afternoon, everyone.